Well, good afternoon again. So we are driving the Porsche 911 GT3R at the challenging, flowing Hungaroring circuit. So a very enjoyable circuit when it comes to driving on. Racing is a little bit tricky uh, around Hungaroring, but yeah. There's a race department race later on this evening at this very circuit, so figured do a bit of practice. So was thinking of going with the Lamborghini, like as I had done with my previous stream and the league that I'm running in, or that I hope to run in. But figured I ran with the Porsche at Paul Ricard, so let's give the Porsche another go.
Green light, go, go, go.
So get this thing started up. Here we go. Turn one at Hungaroring is a very tight right-hander. Probably the slowest corner of the whole circuit. Turn two. Also another left hairpin. Much nicer though, much faster hairpin. Down to turn three. So very important to get over to the left side of the track before entering it. Make a tight exit of turn two. Turn four. Yeah, that's a bit tricky. Especially in a Porsche 911 with all that weight at the back. This Mickey Mouse chicane. This is the start now of the flowing corners, so nice medium speed left into a medium speed right. Late apex that a bit. The left side of the track to get a good line for this very high speed right-hander. That's the end of the S section. Brake, this tight right-hander. Second last corner. Lots of different potential lines into that corner as well as the last corner. For some people, enter it from the inside and sort of stay there throughout the exit. Personally, I like to late apex it. Nice line. Start and finish straight. Back to turn one. Break it, I think, 100 meter. Take it over to the right side before turn two. Brake just at the curb on the outside there. Keep it nice and tight. Right. Lift a little there. Adjust that. Get the full throttle. That'd be less for your weight. This corner really, don't have much of a braking point for it, to be honest with you. So, figure out a point for it. Right, left. Not all that different from the Porsche is not all that different from the Lamborghini in terms of weight distribution, but it's definitely a bit more weight back at this 911 compared to the Lamborghini. Lamborghini actually has about a 60-40 weight distribution. Porsche has a little bit more, almost 70-30. Laps, get our pressure right. to stay above the Porsche or to other cars. Definitely teaches you how to drive smoothly, because if you want to go fast in it, you have to be smooth. Really manage the weight transitions properly. Rewards you very well if you're smooth with it. One more lap, go back to the pits and have a look at our tire pressures visually. Try and throw it into a high-speed corner like that. It's going to punish you very, very badly. Just sort of calm the car down a bit before you enter the corner. Pretty well. Alright. Not probably that last slides. Bit of a slide there. Kind of may have caused a bit of a problem. And actually, just one moment, I will be back. And we're back. So hey, yeah, Chris. Okay, so the kink brake just before the rumble strip. So which is that, the fast right-hander? Is it near the end of the lap before the last few corners? Or right, no, you mean the, is it turn 4, fast left, that's kind of a bit blind? I'm guessing that's the one you mean. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the one, yeah. Yeah, I can give that a go. So yeah, it's probably, yeah, just kind of probably just entering it too fast. All right, cool. I'll try that. Yeah, I'll adjust my volume levels a little bit because yeah. I actually, well, I was running the volume a lot lower in my previous video, the Lambo, but yeah, it's probably a bit too loud right now. So I'll take this down another 10 decibels. Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, it's people, like, what's the point in talking if you can't hear? So, thanks, man. Yeah, it's there's not much to it, but yeah, I can give you a hand with it. So it's yeah, there's just setting up OBS and all of that. Yeah, could do that. Um, okay, I'm trying to think. Well, you're Canadian, right? So the logo has to have a groundhog in it of some sort, I guess, because that's like the national. Well, what's the national? No, it should be a groundhog and maybe uh, what do they call it? A stag. Yeah, a stag and a groundhog or something fighting. Dire wolf. Okay, I don't know what that is, but I know what wolves are, but don't know the wolf breeds specifically. Ah, the beaver. You mean an actual beaver, I'm sure, right? Yeah, not the. But anyway, a good one. Yes, yes, indeed. um, so let's have a quick look at our pressures. Does this work? Boom, it does. Excellent. So fit to screen. Um, yeah, let's try and get this to fit to screen. Or stretch something. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, well, I mean, the Porsche, it's like from some of the driving I did with it when we were driving at Spa, and I drove it. We had at Paul Ricard earlier in the week. Um, it's sort of hard to say, uh, you know, like I said, I'm not sure if you were here from the start of the stream, but like smoothness, like I found even just in general, smoothness is key with 911s. Just if you're anywhere rugged, it just doesn't like it. Um, but then the other thing as well is the spa setup, the spa aggressive setup on the Porsche is really twitchy. I have no idea what Kunos were thinking with that setup. It needed a lot of work to just calm it down just a little bit, and then probably needs more work to calm it down even more. So yeah, so it's a tricky. Yeah, it's just I have no idea what Kunos were thinking or whoever made that setup. It's just nuts. Um. So, but yeah, I mean, maybe. Uh. Yep, sure, no problem. Maybe. I don't know. I've never driven a T300, so can't say uh, how it feels. But hey, Richard, welcome to my little streamy thingy-me. Not sure if you use telemetry, but I'm just looking at it a little bit at the moment. Very, very early beginnings with tire pressures, temperatures, that kind of stuff. So pressures, left side. as expected, a bit too high. Right side, not too high, so it's not too bad. So drag that down a little bit, and let's see. So 0.3 less, 0.3 less. Save. And just have a look at our brake temperatures actually as well. So yeah, I could probably tighten up the brake ducts a little bit. Not too much, maybe just one click. But that would perhaps work. So back to ACC we go. So one click and the one click, and what's the aero balance here like? Well, interestingly, actually, I found that I was driving this thing at Paul Ricard, and as you know, there's a lot of high-speed corners there. So you would think that you'd need plenty of wing on the 911 to keep it stable in the high-speed stuff, but I was running quite low wing at the time. I'm not sure if that's due to inaccuracies of the car, or is it a case of I'm trying to fight the understeer on throttle. So it's really annoying actually. So, but it's something I've struggled with 911s for a long time. This inherent understeer. Let's use qualifying power maps as well. So the ECU maps on the Porsche are really weird. I can probably drag the
green light, go, go, go.
brake bias back a little bit as well. Try this a little bit. Definitely can move it back a little bit. Back to 50. Probably gonna take the wing out. Probably say that traction control is actually a little bit too invasive as well. Yeah, definitely. dial back ABS a little bit. Surely can't be going backwards with the setup. You know, going backwards with the driving. Definitely, it's hard to pinpoint, but something doesn't feel right. Might be just my age-old problem of death-dealing oversteer, off throttle, and then super understeer on throttle. So about balancing, I guess, with the throttle. It's kind of, but it goes a little bit against what I like the car to do, particularly on the throttle. Why sometimes I take some drastic measures with suspension or aero to get it to rotate. That's the kind of thing. With the rear end squats, it's like understeer for days. Soften the front, rebound dampers could help a little bit. Maybe just focus on aero initially. Then start going into the suspension. One more lap. Dial up the pressure control a little bit. Get it to absorb the curves a bit better. These are relatively flat curves. Shouldn't really pick me out that way or pull in. Whoa. Right. That's the end of that run. Excuse me. So drive, graphs, drive, graphs, drive, graphs. You get the idea. So it requires a bit of patience. But yeah, front brakes, good temperature. But yeah, as a result, there is actually heat transfer simulation in Assetto Corsa Competizione. So if you tighten up the brake ducts, your brakes get hotter, your tires get warmer as well. So very cool. It's a first in the sim world. So very clever idea. So pressures for the rears, I will say, are okay, but for the front, just 1 pound less maybe. But although once we change the aero balance, that may change again. So a bit at a time, I suppose. So we have an aero balance of negative 4.8. There's a lot more, so which means more aero towards the back than the front. So I often try to go in steps of 1% until it kills me. And then it's like, go back a little bit then. So if I were to, so it was sort of negative 4.8, so we wanted negative 3.8. Oh, okay. So, alright, that's negative 3.8. Let's adjust the ride height slightly. And this will either work or it's gonna be very tricky.
Green light. Give it all you can.
Yep. Rotating more now. Nice. It doesn't kill me though. Yeah, I can feel that tension at the rear going to some of the higher speed corners. Maybe it needs a bit more wing than first thoughts. There's one particular corner coming up. Yeah, this might be too edgy. Left, this is the corner that will determine. Yeah, much better, but maybe too much the other way. Already start fine-tuning the aero, I guess. Comfortably flat out. Very, very nice. braking too early for the chicane. That wasn't a good downshift. Oh, and the throttle pedal. You've noticed on the previous lap, the out lap, the car turned in really well. The fast right-hander, but simply because they had about quarter throttle or half maybe, decided to understeer. Frustrations of 911s. Requires a very precise right foot. Alright.
Well done, mate. Personal fastest lap.
So that might be the best lap so far, but kind of had to do weird things with the throttle pedal to keep it stable in some of the higher speed corners, so may just adjust to change that. So, of course, there's other ways to manipulate the way the car handles, mainly through the roll bars. So that can help influence the handling, of course. So what do I want to check? Pressures. Yeah. So front left still straining a bit too much. Let's have a look at the suspension travel. Histograms are a little bit messy. Need a bit of smoothing. At least, yeah, a bit of smoothing. And aligning as well. Just want to check as well. So we get actually nowhere near the bump stop at the rear. Nowhere near it. There's only one spike here. But pretty much, yeah, nowhere near it at all. And of course, yeah, I can feel them at the front. So going above 40 mils at the front. So now, so the tricky part now, do I revert the wing to back to where it was so that I can get a bit more front suspension travel? thus absorbing curves better, but potentially understeering, or keep the wing as it is. Although I do know I do want to change the wing because there's too much oversteer for sure. But yeah, it's just a little bit of travel at the front actually. So maybe that's actually it's too much travel. That's the problem, possibly. So that was what, 75 and 60. So so we'll try and see if we can get this up to maybe 4.3. Yeah, so that's 4.3 there. So it's between the two. And now curb absorption is a problem. So don't think it's dampers. So those are definitely on the soft side, or at least medium. Exactly halfway at the front for the fast dampers. Well, the goal simply it's kind of when I go to different tracks, I try to Oh, you mean the outside curb, is it? Before the left kink into the fast right? Like, just stay away from that. Yeah. I know the slow chicane. Yeah, it's kind of near the start of the lap. The super slow right left, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the left-hander. Yeah, I know the one. Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So you're saying just to go way more on the inside. Okay. Yeah, I could try that. I suppose get it up on the concrete. Maybe it'll be a smoother surface. Yeah, I know the one you mean. So it's kind of like a slower of the S turns, or it's the start of the S turns. Yeah, the very first left, and then there's the right and the left kink, and then the fast right. Yeah. Well, you see, I'm just like what I'm thinking is looking, just damper wise. Of course, I could soften the front fast dampers, but I don't necessarily think that's the problem. Problem is most likely front travel. There's only one way to find out. Simply, it's just to increase it. Because thinking about speed-wise, yeah. So we'll increase the front travel by 5 mil. Which might be death in a Porsche, but we'll see. Actually, we'll do it the other way. Just a finer setting with the stiffness of the bump stop, rather than going more coil spring, I guess. But this could screw up the aero balance again. Yeah, basically the aero balance thing, the way I approach it is just very much based on feel. There's no hard rule about it. So of course, you have to take into consideration the circuit as well. So is it a low downforce circuit? Is it a high downforce circuit? But kind of give you an idea of ranges. So I would think Hungaroring, or as far as I know, it is a high downforce circuit. So you want to be on the higher side with the wing. Just the aero balance itself is more, like I said, personal preference. So everyone feels comfortable with different aero balance, but at the moment for me, I'm kind of mainly, there's one main corner. Oh. So there's one main corner, which is the a fast right-hander coming up right now. Left kink. This is the corner really determines your aero balance. So kind of judging my aero balance mainly on that corner. So I can fly through it confidently without getting much understeer. Actually, also that turn 3 and turn 4 are indicators of aero balance as well. Turn 5 maybe a little bit as well. Bump stop didn't really solve the way the car was responding over the curve there. Back again we go. So I'll try an alternative approach, excuse me, which is instead of changing aero balance, I'll leave it as it is and work mechanical. So want the thing to rotate more, stiffen the roll bars. Simple as that. That's kind of mid-corner stuff. I'm going to soften the front fast dampers a couple of clicks. Yeah. Or actually just the fast bump. So let's go nuts. Stiffen the roll bar. Yeah, let's go stiff as you can go with the rear anyway. Offset the... There's actually, some people might think it's crazy to do that in a 911, but from some discussions I've had with some people who I would say more slightly understand vehicle dynamics, or do understand vehicle dynamics better than I do, have explained the idea that actually wherever the center of mass is in the car, so whether it's a front engine car or it's a rear engine car or mid engine, whatever it might be, you actually sometimes you want that side of the car to be stiff to combat the momentum generated in corners. So of course, up to a point, if you set it to super stiff or whatever, then yeah, there's no grip at the rear. The suspension is not giving way at all, so the tires are under tremendous strain. But sort of, yeah, at some point. So this will probably kill me, these anti-roll bar settings, probably, but maybe not. So I'll try and bank on the maybe not and be hopeful. So I did soften the fast dampers a little bit as well. So give this a try.
Green light. Give it all you got.
Whoa! Yeah. Drift City. But it's fun. It's definitely fun. Let's test these fast dampers. Didn't really get a chance to test it there. Oh yes, there we go. car definitely feels tighter now. Maybe too much.
Well done, mate. Nice one.
Happy days into the 44s. So definitely gone a lot quicker, or at least a few tenths quicker. I just want to save that. Sorry. So, but yeah, as I said, might be too tight, so might be able to go potentially a lot faster again. Not a lot, but at least a bit faster. So the graph should look a little bit different now. So I'm not sure if you're able to visualize what's going on here, but simply I can sort of see that there is less peaks in the travel. Let's try and get a corner, a long sweeper somewhere. Yep, that's useless, of course, so then you have to just map it as we see it. That's braking for the last corner, second last, third. So this corner here is the fast right-hander, which would be very much on the roll bars. So if we just zoom up a bit here, and let's just view this section. That's the slight left, and then this is the right-hander itself. So if we compare, you'll see that, especially at the front suspension, actually probably makes more sense to use the new lap rather than the old lap. Oh, is it going to prove me wrong? No, not necessarily, but you definitely see at the rear is rolling that bit more. So the white line is the previous run with the softer roll bars. The colored ones is from that last run. So it's hard to sort of see a little bit. Main thing though, actually, that's pretty cool and clever, or that you should be able to see just straight away, is the relative travel between the two sides of the car from a lateral standpoint. So if I were to look at the way the average travel, so let's see on that last run, the average front travel for the front left was 26.14, front right 23.85. And does that kind of hold true? Yeah, I would say for the most part, that seems to be the theme from lap to lap. Now, if I look at the previous run, I got nothing. Actually, I think the rear is a bit different. The front's kind of the same, which might suggest bump stops kind of getting in the way, muddling the data a little bit. But basically, it's a good way of trying to also even up lateral tire load, like the stiffness of the roll bars, and kind of dependent on. So actually, yeah, you can see that, right? So lap 5 and 5. So this is lap 5. So the rear right is a bit warmer on that on my last run. So the temperatures are virtually the same between the two runs at lap 5. So the temperatures in ACC don't actually change that much, the tire temperature over the course of a lap, as they might have done in the original Assetto Corsa. So yes, the rear left is hotter than it was before, but the rear right as well is hotter. And I suppose I'm trying to see if we can try to figure out a bit of it. So there's an average difference of 7 degrees between the left rear and the right rear. And it's 7 degrees. But yeah, if there was the one thing I'm actually looking for at this point is something like tire load. If there's some sort of channel that we can get tire loads. But if you think about it logically, the roll bar is stiffer, so the load on the rear, the two wheels, is more balanced, just from a logical standpoint. You have it like a seesaw, so you have it just no stiffness at all. Going in a corner, one wheel will be like way pushed down, the outside rear wheel, and then the inside is like there's no load on it at all. So no pressure at all on it, so it's less in contact with the road. So that's sort of the logical, but also at the same time, sometimes you want the stiffer roll bars for quick changes of direction as well. So if you have a car that's very soft roll bars, it's wallowy, so there's these S curves at Hungaroring. So if it's too soft, so the car rolls one way, and then you're driving a 911 as well, which makes it doubly worse. So there's a lot of momentum on one side, you turn the other side, and it's just like a pendulum effect. So it just throws the weight in a violent way to the other side of the car. So there's sort of different things kind of to consider, basically. So that's enough talking and science and engineering and stuff. I don't really know very much, to be honest with you. Genuinely, I don't know very much. I know some things in basic form, but I have a book that I'm meaning to read to learn more about car setup, called Tune to Win by Carol Smith. I think it's Carol Smith. So should definitely read that and learn. So the roll bar thing sort of fixed that problem, but in a way the wing still kind of got in the way a little bit. So it's kind of it's like the car rotates well initially on turn-in, then I feel this thing just at the back of the car pulling the wing, basically. The wing's pulling, the speed's increasing, so the downforce is increasing at the back, and it's sort of pushing the rear of the car down. The front, I'm accelerating the front still, so there's not much weight on the front, and you get it, etc., etc. So might need still less wing, even though we went with stiffer roll bars, so that might not be enough. Or of course just could change the rake angle, a bit more aggressive rake. So yeah, try things. So Porsche's cool cars, frustrating to set up sometimes, very frustrating. One thing, once you dial in a setup with a 911 and it suits your driving style, it's well set up, it is a lethal car. Very, very competitive. It's just trying to find that setup, that point where it's just right. Yep, there's that wing pulling it. Although in the slower corners it is oversteering. Tricky to figure out. Alright. I have some ideas of actually what to do with the setup. Yep. So, yeah, we'll revert that actually back. So that sort of helped a bit, but not really in a way. So basically, stiffen the suspension. That's simple as that. We'll go one click for now. So the front is compressing down too much. The rear is too much traction. That's the way I'm kind of judging it. Yeah. And if that fails, then go into damper tuning. Stiffen the rear up, soften or stiffen both front and rear dampers. So still not quite.
I don't think the fastest step so far.
I have to go stiffer again. that lap was done. So, went quicker. But still not achieving the desired effect. So that might be actually dampers. Try stiffer one more time. So.
Alright, here we go. Go, go, go.
So in some ways, I feel that I'm fighting the very nature of what makes a 911 a 911 by doing these changes. Basically having to take drastic measures to get the car to rotate on the throttle out of corners. Because there's obviously so much traction, quite a stiff rear suspension. Less traction control can help with that as well. I saved yes. That's the perfect example of what I don't like the car to do. Complete washout, the exit. Complete washout. sort of fixed it. Still not quite. So I have a feeling I'm chasing something which is impossible. Or it's either impossible or need quite drastic and insane measures to resolve. So I think that was the settings from before. Yeah, it was, yeah. So, actually, yeah, just for the sake of demonstration, you might be curious to see this bit. So, that last run, I was running the stiffest suspension possible. And so these are the last two runs. Well, there's a bit of overlap actually, so that's okay. That's the way the telemetry logger works in ACC. But basically, yeah, there we go. That's a good visualization there. So you'll notice these are two different runs. So the white line was when I had one click stiffer wheel rates. And the orange line, or the colored lines, is when I had the stiffest wheel rates. So you can notice just by looking at some sections of the track, the white line is higher. And not necessarily having the same troughs, but definitely higher peaks. So the troughs are more maybe dictated by the bump stops. If the bump stops, which on the front of the suspension would definitely come into play, would affect the way suspension compress or the bump transition. So the rear suspension, this is quite interesting actually. The rear suspension hasn't changed all that much when there was one click of stiffness. So there is a little bit more travel. So if you imagine a bit more amplitude in the travel. So this is, yeah, so that's just basically, this is a graph visualization of the suspension travel. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's very little difference. There's a little bit in certain parts, but generally kind of very much aligned. So yeah, it's interesting, graphs. So telemetry, that is the ultimate to fine tuning, really. I would say. So going back to the feeling of the car, it's not doing what I want it to do. And it's pissing me off at this point, to be honest with you. So, and you can actually see as well in ACC, if you look at the graphs. So, with the Porsche, for some reason, it's only really the front that you see a big difference. But you see basically the graph. So you have a green line, a yellow, and the orange line. So the yellow line is the travel of the coil spring. The red line is, or orange line, is the beginning of the bump stop. When the suspension, basically, if you imagine the suspension has two-stage stiffness, or so you have the coil spring travel, and then you hit the bump stop, and then there's a bit more travel with the bump stop. So, but the bump stop's considerably more stiff. Even at the lowest set, I think the 300 newtons is the equivalent of something like 300,000 Newton meters or Newton millimeters. So that's double, so almost double the maximum stiffness of the coil springs. And I have the coil spring here at the maximum stiffness, as you can see, 166,000. So yeah, they're considerably stiffer. So that's why when I see stuff like 10 millimeters of bump stop range, this stuff is kind of, it's like alarm bells for me. Simply because there's basically very little give in the suspension when it comes to the bump stops. Although, I don't know, maybe there is more give, and I'll need to understand a bit more about it to fully tune it properly. But yeah, so there's one last thing I can try, which involves stiffening the dampers. So yeah, if we stiffen, so the front goes up to 11, so we'll stiffen it by, say, 4, or let's say 2 actually. 2, 2, and 2, and 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So this will stop the front end from biting too much under braking, but also the stiffer rear, the car might rotate a bit more on the throttle, maybe. Actually, what I'll do is I'm gonna just go nuts with it. Stiffest rear dampers we can get. And so how about, that was what, an increase of about 5. So I'll increase that one more click, why not?
Green light. Go, go, go.
Just one moment. Alright. Yes, there we go. Maybe a bit too much, but now it's rotating as I want it to. Whoa. Essentially what I've done, dampers control the speed at which the suspension moves, whereas the wheel rate, as you saw, controls the displacement or amplitude. So as a result of stiffer slow dampers, the transition between the pitch and squat at the rear has been slowed down. So the damper is stiffer, it's biting the weight a bit more. Now the problem is maybe that front is too stiff. rather the rear is too stiff. The front could be a little bit softer. Rear definitely a bit softer. All right.
Well done, mate. The fastest lap so far.
That was mainly the culprit there. Was the dampers. So something that might be able to do though is, like I said, I think they're a bit too stiff at the rear. Just want to check. So leave the front. I'll show you actually something interesting. So I won't go too extreme, but basically this is how you can die in a 911. So if we go like that, like this is how things can go horribly wrong. Unless I find a glitch and the car drives beautifully, but I highly doubt it. That would be a terrible glitch on Kunos' part if the car drives well. So,
Green light. Give it all you can.
stiff rear dampers. Very soft front. Oh my god, don't tell me it works. Maybe it's the opposite approach? No, surely not. Oh no. Unless there's something I'm missing. Yeah, actually. So... yeah. Maybe, I'm not really sure, Christine, but Assetto Corsa is very good. You know, it is very good, but I have a suspicion that this will cause what I'm talking about. So I was thinking that it was handling okay because I was braking, the car was going on the bump stops, so as a result, it was stable, basically, if you like to imagine it that way. So this should kill me now. This should. Please don't disappoint me, Kunos. Please. Please, the world is watching. Yes! It's killing me. I have to go full opposite lock there. Wasn't too bad there, but I had a bit of throttle, so it helped stabilize it. Still though, hang on. Unless roll bars. Yeah, there it is. There it is. D1 Porsche 911 GT3. That's what this has become now. Lots of fun though. Lots of fun. I should change the camera view so we can see what this looks like from So watch those hands. Those hands are gonna go nowhere. Okay. Let's make it more interesting. Wait. almost went into a complete tank slapper there. But yeah, I think it works as designed, as it should, believably. But yeah, have a watch of that just for the hell of it. So this is where the Dorifto happens. Probably messed up some of my ratings. I'm not sure. Car control rating should go up, I would hope, but maybe the others not so much. This is where it goes horribly wrong. So, had I not stopped it there, it would have went zoo way over the other side. So, let's save that for hilariousness sake. I don't know, dude. It wasn't so good. I think, though this car wasn't designed to drift, so it was a struggle. Ah, I see. So, not a big fan of Netcar Pro, I'm guessing. Sorry for that slight tangent. That was fun. So it does sort of work as expected, although maybe it's too stable. I don't know, but there's the rear wing stabilizing it, roll bars maybe, suspension stiff enough, especially the rear. So if that's all a bit softer, less wing, might go a bit nuts. They're more crazy. But yeah, I will actually end the stream there because I have something to do. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, interesting car, this 911. But in a way, I kind of feel it's probably, it's probably too. I'm fighting the car. I think that, yeah, just fighting the natural tendencies of the car itself. So maybe I just need to drive the car differently. But yeah. Oh, right. The Nürburgring 24 is later today. Yeah. I'm not sure. Well, I have a race this evening, but I might be able to. What time is it on, actually? All right. Cool. I shall check it out. Thank you, Mr. Gurdener. I'm sorry, by the way, if I'm not pronouncing your name correct. Well, actually, your name isn't your second name isn't Gurdener. Well, is it Gurdoner or Gurdener? I'm thinking it's Gurdener. that's the way or can't be Gurdoner, or maybe it is Gurdoner. But yeah, making a fool of myself in front of my Super League Lights team boss. All right, no problem. Okay. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, Christian. It's cool. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't worry, I will be doing a bit more R factor 2, and like I'm actually trying to see about tweaking my force feedback to be a bit better. So it's just a bit of a process. So it's kind of holding me back a bit, but yeah, on to Silverstone eventually, hopefully. So yeah, hopefully we can have a better round there. So anyway, yeah, catch you guys later on Discord or wherever. So bye bye.